Baby Rosa cries against her chest. Tiny face red, little fists clenched. It's been 3 hours since her last bottle, and Cara Delaney feels every second of it in her sternum. Will you control that child? The voice comes from the next aisle over, elderly, immaculate, dripping judgment like a slow leak. She's crying, Cara says. I hadn't noticed. She smiles wide enough to show teeth and turns back to the top shelf, where the formula sits 2 inches beyond her reach. Because of course it does. Because the universe has a personal vendetta against single guardians under 5'4". She stretches. Fingers graze the can. It slides back. People are watching. A toddler points. The elderly woman makes a sound like a cat stepping on a wet floor. Sweat pricks the back of Cara's neck. I promised your mom, she thinks, not daring to say it aloud. Not here. Not with Rosa fussing against her shoulder and half the cereal aisle bearing witness. I promised Lily you'd never go hungry. Not on my watch. The memory is always right there. Hospital lights. Her sister's face the color of old paper. Lily's fingers, surprisingly strong, finding hers in the sheets. Take care of her, Cara. Then flatline. Then silence. Then a baby who needed someone. And Cara being the only someone available. She finds a discarded mop leaning against the end cap. Uses the handle to nudge the formula forward. Secures it with the dignity of a woman who has accepted that dignity is a luxury good. At the checkout, she opens her banking app. $8.47. The formula is $27.99. Her cleaning shift at Ashford Tower, the one she'd earned by scrubbing the offices of Ashford Enterprises 6 nights a week, wouldn't pay out for another 3 weeks. Rosa's fussing drops to something worse. A small, exhausted whimper. The sound of a baby who has given up expecting to be heard. Cara stares at her phone. She hates asking for money. Hates the specific quality of shame that comes with it. The way it confirms what her parents always said. That she'd never stand on her own 2 feet. Never amount to anything. Never get it together. But Rosa's whimper cuts through all of that like it's made of nothing. This isn't about your ego, she tells herself. This is a hungry baby. She pulls up her contacts, finds her best friend, her safety net, the one person who has never once made her feel small for needing help. Emergency, she types. Need $20 for baby's tummy? Will repay when not destitute. The man behind her clears his throat. She hits send. In retrospect, that's where it starts. Not with the money, not with the wolf, not with any of what came after. It starts with a man clearing his throat at exactly the wrong moment, and Cara glancing up instead of down, and her thumb landing on the wrong name. Some of us have places to be, he says. Your quest for microwaved burritos and quiet desperation has been duly noted, she replies, already looking back at her phone. A ping. There you go. She holds the screen to the reader, pays, gathers Rosa and the bags, and walks out into the cold. And it's only then that she looks properly at her balance. $88. She shakes her head. Error. Must be an error. She keeps walking, gets to the bus stop, checks again. Still 88. She checks the transfer notification. Received. $80. Dominic Ashford. The name sits there like a small bomb. Cara reads it 3 times. Dominic Ashford, CEO of Ashford Enterprises, whose name is on the building, whose face is in the business magazines in the lobby she mops every Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday night, who has never, in 8 months of passing her trolley in the corridor, once acknowledged that she exists. She sent her begging text to her billionaire boss. She would laugh. But Rosa is making the tired, hungry noise again. So instead, she tucks her phone away and tries very hard not to think about what happens on Monday. That's him. Kara freezes mid-mop stroke. Her coworker Tina nods toward the elevator bank, where Dominic Ashford is crossing the lobby with 3 executives arranged around him like satellites. I'll go thank him, Kara says. Tina ducks behind a potted palm. Are you insane? He's just a person. Look at him. He's Dominic Ashford. She does look. He's tall, dark suit, moving through the lobby like he owns it, which he does, technically, along with the 42 floors above it. The executives are talking. He isn't. He's listening with the expression of someone who finds most things mildly inadequate. He's a person who could buy your entire existence with his dry cleaning budget, Tina whispers. He disappears into the conference room. Kara decides she'll try again when the office clears. The executive floor is always deserted by 1 a.m., and Dominic Ashford is, according to rumor and her own weekly observation, reliably the last one left. At 1 a.m, light spills from under his office door. Kara stands in the corridor with her cart, hands inexplicably clammy. She'd prepared a speech, something brisk and professional. Thank you for the funds. I'll repay them by the end of the month. Simple, clean, done. She writes a post-it instead, then crumples it. What could she possibly put on a post-it? Cheers for feeding my kid, Mr. Billionaire, sir? She knocks, lightly. No response. Knocks again. Still nothing. She pushes the door open. Dominic Ashford, unapproachable, formidable, photographed shaking hands with 3 heads of state, is asleep at his desk. Kara almost backs out. It feels like stumbling on something private. His face is different in sleep. The severity is gone. Strong jaw relaxed. Dark lashes longer than they have any right to be on a man who reportedly fired someone for wearing brown shoes. She approaches slowly. Mr. Ashford. A whisper. Nothing. She tries again, slightly louder. Still nothing. She reaches out and touches his arm, gently, through his sleeve. He jolts awake so violently that his chair rolls back and hits the credenza. Blue eyes flying open. Disoriented. And then, in the half-second before thought catches up, pure animal panic crosses his face. Then something happens that Kara will spend the next 3 days trying to explain to herself. And fail. His clothes tear. Not from the seams, through them. A sound like static electricity multiplied. A crackling that raises every hair on her arms. The desk scatters. A lamp goes over. And then a wolf is standing where Dominic Ashford was. Massive. Silver and charcoal gray. Front paws on the desk. Papers everywhere. Blue eyes. The same blue. Exactly the same blue. Watching her from a face that should be impossible. Kara hits the wall. What the heck? The wolf's ears flatten. Its body freezes in something that looks, absurdly, like alarm. They stare at each other. Can you understand me? She whispers. Blink twice if you can understand me. The wolf blinks. Once. Twice. Holy crap! It watches her. Wary, but not lunging. She's blocking the door. The windows don't open. 22 floors. He's trapped, which means he's cornered, which means she needs to stop letting her heart rate do what it's currently doing. Because a cornered animal reads fear. Okay, she says, keeping her voice even. I'm not going to scream or call animal control. I'm not going to tell anyone. Who would believe me anyway? The CEO turns furry when you touch him. I'd be in a psych ward before I finish the sentence. Something in the wolf shifts. Still watching, but differently now. She extends a hand. Open palm. Slow. He backs up. Claws on wood. She crouches, making herself smaller. "It's okay," she says. "I just wanted to thank you for the money." A long pause. Then slowly he lowers his head and presses his muzzle to her palm. Warm fur. A brief, impossible contact. Then he jerks back. The air ripples. Fur recedes. Skin returns. And Dominic Ashford stands in the ruin of his suit, looking furious and naked and human. "You're naked," Kara says, spinning to face the wall. He says nothing. She hears a panel slide open. A soft sound of fabric. "You have a secret suit compartment," she says. "Ms. I always wondered why you had so many identical outfits. I thought maybe you were colorblind. Are wolves colorblind?" "Ms. Delaney," his voice is strained. "Don't answer that. I'm going to look now." He's dressed. Almost. His hands are working a cufflink and losing. She steps forward before she thinks about it. "Let me..." "Don't." His voice stops her cold. "Don't touch me." She steps back. He struggles with the cufflink, jaw tight. Then quietly, "If you touch me, I'll transform again. It's not..." He pauses. "It's contact. When it isn't wanted. When I can't brace for it. That's what triggers it." "Every time?" she asks. "Every time," he says. "It isn't just contact. It's contact when my body expects danger." "How long?" 15 years, he says. Flat. Final. The word lands like a stone in still water. 15 years of not being touched by another person. 15 years of managing every room, every handshake, every incidental brush in a corridor. "Who else knows?" she asks. "My sister." He smooths his tie. "That's all. The others in the pack, my family, the people I'm responsible for, they know something is wrong. They don't know the shape of it. And you want me to..." "I'd like your discretion. Yes." She looks at him, the flush still on his face, the very careful stillness. "You can trust me," she says. A flicker crosses his expression. Then, "Most people run. Most people are boring." The corner of his mouth moves, just barely. Then he looks away, out the window. 22 floors of dark city, and his own reflection looking back. And something crosses his face that he doesn't know she can see. Something that isn't the CEO, isn't the formidable, isn't any of it. Something that looks, just for a second, like a person who has been very alone for a very long time, and has stopped expecting that to change. It's gone before she can name it. He smooths his tie, returns. "The money," she says. "I only asked for $20. The message mentioned a hungry child. I assumed it was an emergency." "It was, but consider it an advance on your salary." She frowns. "That's actually decent of you." "It's fine." He moves toward his desk, posture returning. "If you'll excuse me." The office door swings open. A woman, early 40s, dark hair. The kind of posture that other people's posture apologizes to. She takes in the scene. Kara, the overturned lamp, the fragments of a torn shirt half tucked under the desk, with eyes that catalog everything. "Why is the cleaning staff in your office?" she says. Not a question. "Rosalind." Dominic's voice doesn't change. "Ms. Delaney was handling a coffee mishap from earlier. His sister." Kara knows who she is from the building directory. Rosalind Ashford, COO, the other name on the door. "The floor needs doing," Kara says brightly, grabbing her cart. "Lots of floor to do. I'll just..." She wheels out before anyone can stop her. The door closes. She hears Rosalind's voice rise, muffled, through the wood. She pushes her cart toward the elevator, presses the button, stares at the floor indicator, her pulse still running fast. Whatever just happened, she has a feeling the boring part is over. He shows up at her door at 6:47 in the morning. Navy suit, not a hair out of place, looking like a Forbes cover, and standing in her doorway while Rosa sits on her hip, and the dishes are in the sink, and the fold-out couch is still unfolded from where she slept on it. "May I come in?" he says. She steps back. He enters. Takes in the one bedroom, her bed couch, the baby zone cordoned off with furniture, the formula cans stacked by the kitchen, with no visible reaction. "You sleep on the couch," he observes. "It's a very good couch." Rosa stares at him with the solemn intensity she reserves for new things. He looks back at her. Neither blinks. He crouches down to her level. It's such an unexpected thing for a man in a $4,000 suit to do that. Kara goes completely still. He doesn't reach for Rosa. He knows better. But he tilts his head slightly, matching her angle, and holds eye contact with the gravity of someone taking a very small person seriously. Rosa considers him for a long moment. Then she extends one fat fist, offering him the plastic ring she's been chewing. He looks at it, then at her. "Thank you," he says with complete sincerity. Rosa withdraws the ring and puts it back in her mouth, apparently satisfied. He stands, straightens his jacket. The moment sealed over like it never happened. "We need to discuss last night," he says. "I figured." Kara sets Rosa in the playpen. "You think I'm going to tell the world about your—" She waves a hand. "Condition?" "I think you're impulsive, unpredictable. You've been terminated from 6 positions in 8 months for similar reasons." He produces no file, no phone. He simply knows. Doesn't follow protocol, challenges authority unnecessarily. Creative to a disruptive degree. Heat floods her face. "So I get bored easily." "You require mental challenge and resist arbitrary constraints." He glances at the apartment. "You also need financial stability." "Is this a bribe?" she says. He pauses. "Yes." "You've got some nerve." She plants her feet. "Just because I sleep on a couch." "The position pays $95,000 annually, full benefits, pediatric dental." His eyes move briefly to Rosa. "A $10,000 signing bonus." The number lands in the room like a physical thing. Rosa makes a small sound in the playpen, perfectly timed. This apartment failed 3 safety inspections last year. She doesn't say. She knows. She's read every notice they've slipped under her door. "I'm offering you an opportunity," Dominic says. "Your financial situation means you can't afford to refuse." "You really don't understand how offensive this is, do you?" she says, not quite a question. "I understand I'm recognizing talent in an unconventional situation," he says. She looks at Rosa, at the formula cans, at the crack in the corner of the ceiling she's been pretending isn't there. "Fine," she says. "I accept. But only because I can't afford to say no." "I'll have HR prepare the paperwork," he says. "Great." She nods at the door. "You can let yourself out." He goes. At the threshold, he stops. "Ms. Delaney." She looks up. "She'll be all right," he says. His eyes move to Rosa once more. Then he's gone. And the door closes quietly, and Kara sits down on the edge of her couch and looks at her hands. $95,000. Pediatric dental. She thinks, "I am not going to develop feelings for this man." She thinks it very firmly. She thinks it twice. Rosa blows a bubble and looks unimpressed. 3 weeks in, Kara has identified the real function of her job. It is not filing. It is not scheduling. It is not strategic analysis. Though she does all 3 by 9 a.m. because she's constitutionally incapable of sitting still. Her real function is, don't let anyone touch the boss. It's surprisingly technical work. When the VP of sales goes in for a shoulder pat, she intercepts with a dropped stack of folders. When a client from Singapore extends a hand with the particular enthusiasm of someone who has flown 16 hours for this meeting, she steps smoothly into the gap. Mr. Ashford has been practicing traditional Japanese greetings this quarter. Cultural sensitivity initiative. Very progressive. Shall we? She bows. The client bows. Dominic Ashford, behind her, manages to look like this was planned. She almost misses one. A Friday afternoon. End of a long week. Her attention split between her phone and the corridor. A woman from legal, friendly, unaware, the kind of person who touches arms when she talks, reaches for Dominic's sleeve mid-sentence. Kara moves, not quite fast enough. The woman's fingers graze fabric. The air in the corridor changes. A pressure drop, like before a storm. Kara steps hard between them, turning it into a stumble, grabbing the woman's arm to steady herself. So sorry. Heels, honestly, should know better. The woman laughs, steadies her, moves on. Dominic says nothing. But when Kara glances back at him, he's standing very still with his eyes closed, jaw set, breathing through something she can't see. Just breathing, bringing himself back. When he opens his eyes and finds her watching, neither of them speaks. She turns away first. Coming through, she announces one afternoon, carving a path through the marketing department. CEO with personal space requirements. Respect the bubble. He gives her a look that she has come to understand means you are testing my very considerable patience. She grins. The look that follows, the one he quickly suppresses, she has also come to understand. It means she's winning. The North Star meeting is the one that changes things. Elaine North Star is the reason Dominic has barely slept in 3 weeks. The merger with her company is the biggest deal Ashford Enterprises has attempted in a decade, and it's balanced on the relationship between 2 people, one of whom cannot shake hands. Kara sees it happening from the far end of the hallway. The meeting wrapping up. Dominic, 3 of his executives, and Elaine North Star, who is moving toward him with her hand already extended, and the decisive air of a woman who closes things. Kara's body moves before her brain signs off on it. Ms. North Star. She appears from nowhere, catching the woman's hand in both of hers. I'm so sorry to interrupt. I'm Alexandra Delaney. I head up strategy for the Eastern Division. Alexandra, the name on her contract, the one she never used anywhere else. Your keynote at the Women in Leadership Summit last spring was extraordinary. Elaine North Star blinks, then smiles, the genuine version. How kind of you. Which part specifically? The reframing of failure as data, Kara says immediately, because she actually read the transcript at 2 a.m. last week while Rosa slept on her chest. The idea that resistant teams aren't obstacles, they're sensors. That stayed with me. Behind Elaine, over her shoulder, Kara can see Dominic watching, very still, something unreadable in his expression. North Star's assistant materializes. Ms. North Star, your car. Of course. She squeezes Kara's hand warmly. Mr. Ashford, I look forward to next week. A nod, no handshake, and she's moving toward the elevator with her team. Kara waits until the lift doors close. Tokyo is not on line 2, Dominic says quietly, beside her. No, she says. Line 2 is the pizza place downstairs. I have them on speed dial. You read her keynote. I read everything relevant to this building. She starts walking. Standard practice. Ms. Delaney. She turns. He's not quite looking at her directly. Thank you, he says. For the intervention. No-touch bodyguard, she says. Catchy job title. Consider it my new core function. She turns back toward her office. Behind her, she doesn't hear him say anything. But when she glances over her shoulder at the end of the corridor, he's still standing where she left him, watching her go. Not the way a CEO watches an employee. She faces forward before she has to decide what to do with that. 6 weeks in, he asks for her opinion on something real. Not coffee. Not scheduling. He slides a folder across his desk and says, "The Tokyo expansion strategy. What do you see?" She almost asks him to repeat it. Instead, she opens the folder, reads, thinks. Your projected growth in the Osaka corridor assumes existing infrastructure, she says after a while. But there's a transit development scheduled for completion in 18 months that changes the accessibility metrics by about 7%. Your numbers are conservative by about 2 years. He's quiet. Also, she says, the pricing model treats the regional market as uniform. It's not. Northern and southern consumer behavior are different in ways your data is averaging out. Show me. She pulls up her laptop and spends 20 minutes walking him through it. She expects to be interrupted. She expects the polite nod that means interesting. We'll consider it. What she gets instead is questions. Sharp, specific questions that tell her he's not just listening, he's stress-testing her argument in real time. The transit data, he says. Where did you get it? City planning records. They're public. No one looks at them. A pause. He's looking at her in a way that's different from how he looks at the data. Less assessment. More something else she doesn't have a word for yet. I'll have the team revise the approach, he says. A pause. There's also the North Crest negotiation next month. Different problem. Relationship, not numbers. I'll want your thinking on that too. She waits for more. There isn't any. He's already turning back to his screen. She closes her laptop, gets up. At the door. You're welcome, she says. She can hear him not smiling as she leaves. After that, it becomes a habit. He asks. She answers. She stops softening her answers to protect his feelings. He doesn't seem to have feelings about being wrong, only about being given bad information. The distinction matters. She starts going in with her own agenda. Problems she's spotted. Things no one else seems willing to say to his face. He listens to all of it. The people on the 14th floor stop calling her the cleaner who got promoted. They start calling her something else. She hears it secondhand from Priya in accounting, delivered with the resigned air of office gossip that has already traveled too far to stop. Beauty and the Beast, Priya says, though honestly no one can agree which is which. Kara keeps her face neutral. Tell them to get back to work. She walks to the bathroom and stands at the sink and gives herself 30 seconds to feel whatever she's feeling. Then she turns the tap on cold and goes back to her desk. The board notice arrives 3 days later. A calendar invitation, politely worded, the kind that is not actually optional. Strategic review, executive appointments. Attendance, Ashford D, required. Ashford R, required. She's not on the list. She finds out what happened from Priya, who heard it from someone in legal. Apparently, 2 board members have been asking questions about her appointment. Specifically, why a former night cleaning operative with a history of short tenure employment is now sitting in on executive meetings and influencing strategic decisions. Apparently, the phrase conflict of interest was used. Apparently, Rosalind handled it, in the way Rosalind handles things, which is to say quickly, and without any visible trace of how she felt about it. Kara is at her desk when Dominic comes out of the boardroom. He doesn't stop, doesn't look at her, just keeps walking, jacket buttoned, pace unchanged. She opens a new spreadsheet and starts typing, because that's what she does when she needs somewhere to put her hands. An hour later, an email lands. Ms. Delaney, please pull the Q3 regional analysis and add your projections for the following 12 months. I'd like your perspective before the board reconvenes tomorrow. DA. She stares at it. Then she pulls up the file and gets to work. The daycare brochures appear on her desk on a Tuesday in the 8th week, tucked under her morning coffee. 8 of them, each with a handwritten note on a yellow post-it. Security staff to child ratio 1:4, strong Montessori alignment, 2-year waiting list, but the director owes me a call. She stares at the stack. Then she walks to his office doorway. He's already on the phone. He glances up. She holds the brochures up with a look that says, "We're going to talk about this." He holds up one finger. 1 minute. She waits. He finishes the call. "You researched daycares," she says. "You mentioned the current arrangement was problematic." "I mentioned it once in passing 3 weeks ago." He picks up his pen, returns to whatever was on his desk. "The one on Marchmont Street is probably best for her age group." She stands in his doorway for another second. "Thank you," she says. He nods, already reading. She goes back to her desk and sits very still for a moment, looking at the brochures fanned out in front of her. "Don't," she tells herself. She puts the brochures in her bag and opens her email. That evening, she's still at her desk at 7:30 when she realizes he is too. The building has emptied around them, the cleaning crew on the lower floors, the security guard doing rounds, and the two of them on opposite sides of a glass wall, both pretending to read. She should go. She picks up her bag. He looks up at exactly the wrong moment. "You're still here," he says through the open doorway. "So are you." A pause. He sets his pen down. She stands there with her bag on her shoulder, and the corridor between his office and her desk is maybe 8 feet, and there is no professional reason for either of them to cross it. She is very aware of the 8 feet. "The Marchmont Street place," she says finally. "Is it really the best one?" "The staff turnover is the lowest of the 8 I looked at. That's usually the clearest signal." "You looked at 8. 12, actually. 8 made the shortlist." She stares at him. "You researched 12 daycares," she says. "For my niece." He picks up his pen again. "It wasn't difficult." She opens her mouth, closes it, takes 1 step toward the doorway, not crossing it, just, and then the baby monitor on her desk crackles, and Rosa makes the particular noise that means she's about to wake up properly, and the moment snaps like a thread pulled too tight. "I need to call the sitter," she says. "Of course." He's already reading. She sits back down and calls the sitter and tells herself she imagined the way he'd almost looked at her. Almost. She's had practice at this. It's a late evening in the 10th week. The building has emptied. She's returned a call on his behalf and found him still at his desk when she comes back. Jacket off for once, sleeves rolled, going through financials with a red pen like the numbers have personally offended him. She sets a coffee on his desk, careful to leave space. He doesn't look up. "You don't have to stay." "I know." She stays. She takes the chair across from him rather than the one beside the desk, a decision she makes without examining it too closely. From here she can see the way the lamplight catches the line of his jaw, the ink smudge on his left hand he hasn't noticed, the small unconscious furrow between his brows when a number doesn't cooperate. She has catalogued these things without meaning to. She catalogues them now. At some point, he looks up and catches her watching. Neither of them says anything. The building hums around them, 38 floors of empty offices, and the lamp between them is the only warm light for a long way in any direction. He looks back down first. She exhales. He asks what she thinks about the Eastern Division restructure. Really asks, leans back in his chair and looks at her with his full attention, which is a specific and slightly overwhelming thing to receive. She talks through it. He listens. They go back and forth for 20 minutes, and she notices the way he engages, not waiting for her to finish so he can speak, but actually absorbing, revising his thinking in real time, coming back with sharper questions. She's met a lot of powerful people since she started at Ashford Tower, and most of them are waiting. He's the only one who actually listens. Then, in a gap in the conversation, "Can I ask you something not about work?" He waits. "What's it like?" she says. "Being a—" She gestures vaguely. "You know, when you're not." Another gesture, a long pause. "It's very quiet," he says. She waits for more. "I don't mean—" He stops, looks at his hands. There's a version of quiet that means stillness, peace. That's not what this is. He shakes his head. It's the other kind. She doesn't ask. She knows the other kind. The kind that follows a loss so large it changes the acoustic properties of every room you walk into. "I'm sorry," she says. He looks at her. Not the assessing look, not the professional one. Something smaller. "It's less quiet now," he says. "Than it was." She almost says it then. Something that starts with "I think" and ends with "you." She can feel it right at the edge of her teeth. She picks up her laptop bag instead. "I'll see you tomorrow," she says. She doesn't push. But she thinks about that word. Quieter, for the whole bus ride home, Rosa asleep against her shoulder. She spends the morning of his birthday drafting text messages she doesn't send. 23 drafts. She counts. Everything from happy birthday hope it's a good one, too cheerful, too nothing, to a paragraph that she deletes with extreme prejudice because it said things she has been carefully not saying. 2 words. That's all it needs to be. Happy birthday. She can't send it. She picks up Rosa from the new daycare, the one on Marchmont Street, which had, inexplicably, called her the week before with an unexpected opening, and comes home and feeds her and bathes her and puts her down, and opens a glass of wine, and is approximately 2 sips in when someone knocks at her door. She opens it. Dominic Ashford is standing in her doorway with his tie at half-mast, and a grin she has never seen before. Wide, slightly crooked. It reshapes his face entirely. He looks about 12 years younger. "Deal signed," he announces, and holds up a folder. "Are you drunk?" The North Crest method works. He says it with the solemn pride of a scientist confirming a hypothesis. "Very effective. Highly recommend. Your idea. Excellent idea." "Come inside before a neighbor calls someone." She grabs his sleeve, the jacket fabric, not his arm, and steers him to the couch. He drops onto it with a grunt. "The formula works," he says again, slightly more to the ceiling. "The formula works. Great. How much did you drink?" "Enough to close a deal." He considers this. "Possibly slightly more than that." "Terrific." She's already heading to the kitchen. Coffee. Strong. Now. "Your idea," he says again from the couch. "The whole thing. The bar, the getting on his level." A pause. "I don't usually do that. Getting on levels." "I know," she calls back. "I think," he says more slowly now, That I have been a pause. Very far from levels. For a long time. She comes back with the coffee. He's lying back against the cushions, still in his suit, tie fully undone now, looking at the ceiling. She extends the mug. Drink this. He looks at it, then at her. That smile again. The real one. It does something to her that she refuses to name. The mug slips. She grabs for it. Misses. Ceramic hits floor. And she's already dropping to her knees, gathering pieces. Very focused on the pieces. Not on the fact that her hands are not entirely steady. You know, Dominic says quietly, from above her. She looks up. He's watching her from the couch, and they're suddenly much closer than she'd calculated. And his voice, when he speaks, is different from any register she's heard from him before. Sometimes, he says, when you look at me, I can hear your heart rate change. She goes completely still. You can tell, she says. Enhanced senses. A pause. It's involuntary. I don't try to. His phone rings. Don't answer that, she says. He's already fumbling for it. Who's this? He says into the phone, which is not how anyone answers a phone, and then, oh, Rosalind, hi. Kara reaches over and takes the phone from his hand, careful to avoid his fingers. She hung up, she tells him, because it's easier. She ends the call herself. She hung up, he repeats, looking relieved. Drink the coffee, she says. I think I should lie down, he murmurs, eyes already closing. You are lying down. He makes a sound of vague satisfaction and closes his eyes. She gets a cloth for the spilled coffee, cleans up the shards, comes back to find him still on the couch, breathing slowing toward sleep. She stands there for a moment, looking at him. The ruthless posture gone, face relaxed. The scar near his right eyebrow she'd noticed that first night catching the lamplight. Happy birthday, she says, quiet enough that it might be to herself. His eyes don't open, but his mouth moves. Thank you, Kara. She's barely registered that he used her first name when he reaches up. Slow, half asleep, the gesture of someone acting before thought catches up, and cradles her face in both hands and kisses her. She should pull back. He's drunk. He's her employer. The curse. There's no bracing in him. No flinch. Just warmth. She kisses him back. His hands are warm. The kiss is gentle, unhurried. The sigh he makes into it the sound of someone setting something down they've been carrying for a very long time. He pulls her closer. She goes. And nothing crackles. Nothing shifts. He stays warm and human, and right there. She's aware, distantly, of the wine glass still on the counter, the lamp casting everything amber, the particular quiet of an apartment after a baby goes to sleep. She's aware of the weight of his hands, the way he kisses like he means it. No performance, no calculation, just this, just her, just the very simple fact of being close to someone without the world ending. She pulls back first, looks at him, fast asleep. His hands still loosely curled where she'd been, like he's holding something he doesn't know he's let go of. She stares at their point of last contact. She touched him. He kissed her. They were skin to skin for 30 seconds, and he is still Dominic Ashford. Not a wolf, not transformed, just a sleeping man in a loosened tie on her second-hand couch. She sits back on her heels. The front door opens. Rosalind Ashford stands in the doorway. As COO, she has access to every employee record in the building, and her eyes move from Kara to her brother, asleep on the couch, and back to Kara. What did you do? She says. He came here, Kara starts. The deal closed. He was already... Get away from him. Ms. Ashford, get away from my brother. The control in her voice is absolute. Then it breaks, slightly at the edges, and what's underneath is something Kara didn't expect. Fear. Rosalind crosses the room and takes Dominic's arm, pulling him upright with the practiced grip of someone who has done this before. He needs to come with me, she says. I know, let me. You've done enough. Her eyes meet Kara's, and they're gold for just a moment. Inhuman, ancient, before shifting back to brown. Stay away from him. He cannot afford unwanted contact. She gets him to the door. He manages a backward glance, blurred with sleep and wine. Good night, Kara, he says very pleasantly, as if he's leaving a dinner party. The door closes. Kara sits on the floor by her couch for a while, in the quiet. Then she gets up and does the dishes, because someone has to. The email arrives at 7:47. Subject: Department transfer. She reads it 3 times. The words don't change. Effective immediately, she's being moved to marketing strategy on the 14th floor. 15% salary increase. More autonomy. More opportunity. Regards, Dominic Ashford, CEO. She stares at regards. She's at his office door by 8:59. His assistant tries to intervene. Kara walks through her apology and pushes the door open. He looks up from his screen. Something moves through his expression. Quickly gone. That's it, she says. After everything, I get a form letter. I wrote it myself, he says. Warm personal touch. The regards really landed. She closes the door. This is Rosalind's idea. He doesn't deny it. I agreed to it. The position offers you more. Did you agree or did she order it? Kara says. A pause. I agreed with her reasoning, he says carefully. And what was her reasoning? She says. He turns to the window. A long moment. If this is real, he says, and I don't understand it, and I lose control in a situation I can't predict, it doesn't just cost me. It costs the pack. His reflection looks back at her from the glass. I've already cost them 15 years. I'm not willing to risk more on something I can't explain. So instead you send a cold email and hope I'll go quietly. Instead I put you somewhere safer. For both of us. She stares at him. That's the most cowardly brave thing I've ever heard, she says. He turns from the window. Dominic. She steps closer. We touched and you stayed human. On your birthday, when you kissed me, nothing happened, which means the rule isn't what you think it is. She crosses the space between them and places her hand on his wrist. She feels it before it happens. The way he goes absolutely rigid under her fingers. Not the transformation, not yet. Something before that. The held breath. The particular stillness of a person bracing for impact. Of 15 years of fear firing all at once in a single unwanted second. Then the air cracks, and the wolf crouches where he stood. Silver and massive, ears flat, a low sound in its throat. She steps back. I'm sorry, she says. I thought... He snarls. Not aggressive. Dismissal. Leave. She goes. The last thing she sees before the door closes is the wolf, alone in the wreckage of his suit, in a room too large for one creature, looking out through familiar blue eyes at something she can't read. A month passes. She learns the 14th floor. She's good at her job. She's good at most jobs she tries, which has never been the problem. The problem is, she's trying very hard not to think about the 22nd floor, and she's moderately failing. She knows this because she takes the long route to the bathroom every morning, the one that doesn't pass the elevator bank for the executive floors. She knows this because she deleted his contact from her phone and then found herself typing his name into the search bar at 11 p.m. for no reason she'll admit to. She knows this because Rosa reached for her hair one evening with both fists, the way she does when she wants attention. And Kara held her a little too long and a little too tight and told herself it was fine. It was fine. At night, she feeds Rosa and runs through projections and tells herself she's fine. She is fine. She has a salary and a decent apartment now and a daycare that Rosa adores, and a best friend who comes over on Thursdays with terrible wine. She is fine by any objective measure. She is not fine. The thing about having spent months paying very close attention to a person is that you can't undo it. She knows the exact register of his voice when he's genuinely interested versus professionally interested. She knows he eats the same lunch every day, not because he doesn't have opinions about food, but because he has too many opinions about everything else, and eating requires zero mental bandwidth this way. She knows he keeps a small framed photograph in his desk drawer. She saw it once when the drawer stuck, and that he closes it quickly when anyone comes in, and that it's a woman who looks like an older version of Rosalind. She knows he touches the scar near his eyebrow when he's thinking through a problem he doesn't like the shape of. She knows all of this, and it is entirely useless. She's deep in quarterly projections when the meeting invitation arrives. All hands marketing review, executive floor, attendance required. She reads it twice. Then she writes a grocery list, reorganizes her bookmarks, and checks the weather for cities she has no plans to visit. Then she goes. She feels him before she sees him. A change in the room's attention. The way rooms reorganize themselves around a certain kind of presence. She takes a seat at the far end of the table, sets out her materials, stares at the projector. The meeting starts. Director Franklin runs through figures. Kara watches the projector and answers questions when called on, and is almost through it when his voice comes from the head of the table. I'd like to hear from the analyst behind the Eastern Region projections. Ms. Delaney, could you walk us through your methodology? She stands, pulls up her slides, talks through the data with her eyes on the back wall, her voice steady, her hands quiet at her sides. She finishes, sits. One question. She doesn't look at him. Ms. Delaney. Go ahead, she says to her notebook. Your model projects 22% growth in suburban markets. Historical data caps that corridor at 15. Could you address the gap? She almost smiles. After all of this, a methodology question. As I stated in the presentation, she says, the transit infrastructure scheduled for completion next year changes the accessibility metrics by 7 points. It's on slide 4. The footnote. A pause. Sir. Someone shifts uncomfortably. Could you look at me while you're addressing the room? The room goes quiet. She looks up. He looks terrible. Sharp as ever, composed as ever. But underneath it, pale, tense, the shadows under his eyes that she knows from late nights. He's watching her, and there's something in his face she didn't expect to find there. He's as miserable as she is. She didn't want to know that. Excuse me, she says. I'm not feeling well. She gathers her things and walks out. She makes it to the stairwell. 2 flights down, her legs give out, and she sits on the steps. Presses the back of her hand to her mouth. Stupid, she tells herself. One look and you fall apart. Absolutely pathetic. Completely. The stairwell door opens above her. Kara. She's moving before she thinks about it. Down the stairs. Into the corridor. The elevator banks are full. She sees the service elevator at the far end, the caution tape across it. She ducks under the tape and hits the button. Ms. Delaney. The doors open. She gets in, hits lobby. That elevator. His voice, closer now, sharp with something urgent. The doors close. At first, nothing. Then a jolt. The car drops. Fast. hard, then slams to a stop. The lights flicker. She hits the emergency button. Nothing. The car groans, a sound like metal under a weight it wasn't built for. Help! She's hitting the door, palm flat, the sound of it swallowed by the shaft. Help! I'm in here! Kara, his voice from above and close, immediate. Can you hear me? The cable, she says. I think the cable. Stay still. Don't move toward the doors. A pause. She can hear him moving above the car, the squeak of the maintenance platform. There's a service hatch in the ceiling. I'm going to open it from above. Stay back from it. Metal scrapes. A square of dim shaft light appears overhead. His face in the gap. Hair disordered. Jacket gone. The shaft walls visible close behind his shoulders. Climb up, he says. I can't reach. Yes, you can. His hand comes through, extended. I've got you. She jumps. Her fingers catch the edge. He grips her wrist, skin to skin, and the contact snaps through her like a live wire. He doesn't flinch, doesn't change. His hand is hot, calloused, too strong, and she feels the exact second his grip recalibrates from pull to hold, like he's measuring how much force he can use without hurting her. Look at me, he says, voice low and razor steady. Breathe. With me. The elevator car groans below them. The shaft smells like dust and metal and panic. Kara tries to laugh and it comes out thin. You're giving orders like, Kara. Her name, cut clean. Now. She obeys, because there is something in him that does not permit her to fall. He hauls her up through the hatch with one brutal, controlled motion, then wraps an arm around her as if he's not sure the building deserves the right to keep her. Hold on, he says. She doesn't have time to be proud. She wraps her arms around his neck. He climbs one-handed, the other arm locked around her like a restraint that's also a promise. Each rung squeaks. The elevator below shifts again, an ugly metal sigh, and Dominic's body goes rigid for half a heartbeat. Not fear. Fury. A sound escapes him, not quite a growl, not quite human. It vibrates against her sternum where she's pressed to him. Dominic, she breathes. His jaw flexes. Don't look down. I wasn't going to. Don't, he repeats, rougher. Just hold on to me. She does, and she feels it. His senses working. The way his head tilts, listening to the shaft like it's speaking. The way his breathing stays controlled by sheer violence of will. They reach the open doors. Hands grab her, pull her through. Her knees hit solid floor and it shocks her. She shakes so hard it's almost comical. She puts a hand on the wall to keep from folding. Dominic is there immediately. He catches her face in both hands, too fast, too instinctive, and his thumbs sweep her cheekbones like he's checking for cracks. Are you hurt? He demands, and his voice is not CEO now. It's something older, something that expects blood. Kara, tell me. No, she manages. No, I'm fine. His forehead drops to hers, one hard exhale against her mouth, like he's just realized the world didn't take her. Then she registers it. His hands, skin to skin, still human. You're touching me, she whispers. He freezes, not because he's about to change, because he hears what she's implying. You pulled me up, she says, voice shaking with it. You carried me. You're holding my face. His pupils are blown wide. The scent of him is everywhere. Dust and steel and something sharp and warm underneath it that makes her mouth go dry. I didn't... He starts, and stops. His throat works once. I forgot. You forgot, she repeats, incredulous, almost laughing. You forgot you can't be touched. His hands don't leave her face. They tighten like he can't make himself let go. I thought I was going to lose you, he says, and the words scrape out of him like they've torn something on the way. Kara goes very still. Because that is not a normal thing to say to your employee. That is not even a normal thing to feel. That elevator, she starts. I know. His voice drops. I know. The maintenance workers behind them say something. The security guards shift. The corridor is full of bodies and noise. Dominic doesn't seem to hear any of it. His gaze flicks to her mouth, back to her eyes, like he's trying to decide whether he's allowed. Kara's heart stutters. He hears it. She knows he hears it. Dominic, she whispers. He makes a sound, barely contained, and kisses her. It isn't gentle. It's relief with teeth. It's the claim of a man who just dragged her out of a falling box and has no idea what to do with the fact that his hands are still on her and the world didn't end. Kara grabs his shirt front and kisses him back like she's been waiting a month to stop being brave. What is happening here? They separate. Rosalind Ashford stands at the edge of the gathered crowd. Her expression would make most people take a very long step backward. Dominic doesn't move away from Kara. He shifts, subtle, but the whole corridor feels it. Not a step forward. A claim. His body angling so she is half behind him, half beside him, exactly where he can feel her, and anyone else has to go through him first. A security guard starts to speak. Sir, we... Dominic's head turns. Just that. The guard's words die in his throat. Clear the corridor, Dominic says. Not loud, not sharp. Final. Now. The maintenance workers don't need to be told twice. People begin to move with the urgent obedience of prey animals, recognizing the moment a predator has decided. Rosalind's eyes flick to Kara, then to Dominic's hand, still on Kara's back. Get away from him, she says, voice iced over. You'll trigger... Dominic's fingers spread slightly, as if he's confirming she's still there. His gaze never leaves his sister. No, he says. She won't. Kara feels it then. The thing underneath the CEO, underneath the restraint. The alpha. Not performance. Instinct. The part of him that has been locked in a room for 15 years and is suddenly out in the corridor, with its teeth bared. Rosalind takes a step. Dominic takes one at the same time. Not toward her, toward the gap between Rosalind and Kara. A clean cut. A line drawn. Rosalind stops, because she has to. Dominic, she says, and for the first time her control has hairline cracks. You don't understand what you're doing. I do, he says. I understand exactly. He glances down at Kara, brief, impossible gentleness in it, then looks back at Rosalind. She's shaking, he says. Kara realizes he's not talking about the elevator anymore. Rosalind's jaw tightens. You can't. I can, he says. And I am. His arm tightens around Kara's waist. Protective, decisive. Not a cage. An anchor. Then, without raising his voice, he delivers the quietest threat in the world. Anyone who tries to touch her, Dominic says, will learn what my restraint costs me. The corridor goes still. Even Rosalind holds her breath. Kara's pulse hammers once, hard. Dominic feels it. His hand shifts again at her back like he's memorizing the fact of her being alive. Rosalind's eyes flash gold. A blink, and it's gone. This isn't about her, she says. Dominic's mouth curves. Nothing like a smile. It is now. Rosalind dismisses the crowd with 2 words and a look. In the empty corridor, the 3 of them form a triangle. Dominic keeps his hand at the small of Kara's back. She stays. "Get away from him," Rosalind says. "You'll trigger." "We've been touching for 20 minutes, Dominic says. "I didn't transform." "That's not—" Rosalind's composure fractures slightly. "That's not possible." "I'm starting to think," Kara says carefully, "that the curse works differently than you think it does." Rosalind's chin lifts. "You don't know anything about it." "I know that when I touched him in his office, he transformed," Kara says. "And when he kissed me while he was drunk on his birthday, he didn't. And just now—" She lifts her hand, turns it palm up. "Nothing." Silence. "He was afraid," Kara says. "In his office that night. Of what it meant. Of me. Of all of it. And when he was drunk, he wasn't afraid. And just now, in the shaft—" She looks at him. "You weren't afraid. You were just trying to get me out." Dominic says nothing, but something in his face confirms it. "The curse doesn't respond to touch," Kara says. "It responds to fear of touch." Rosalind has gone very still. Her hands, Kara notices, have come up to hold her own elbows. A small, old gesture. "Rosalind," Dominic's voice shifts. "What really happened? When you went to the wish granter?" "I told you what happened. You told me I got drunk at a celebration and you had to clean it up. You told me it was your mistake." He takes a step toward her. "But I've been thinking about it for 15 years and it's never made sense. The scale of it. Cursing an entire pack because I had a drunken hookup and embarrassed us." He stops. "That's not who you are." Rosalind looks at the wall. "Something happened to you," Kara says quietly. The silence stretches. "There was a regional council meeting." Rosalind's voice is flat, precise, like she's reading from a document. "Mathis, the Northern Alpha, he wanted to merge our packs. I refused." A pause. "He put something in my drink." Dominic goes completely still beside her. Rosalind doesn't look at him. Her hands tighten on her own arms. "I don't remember most of it. Just fragments." She stops. A breath. "I dealt with it. I made sure he lost everything without anyone knowing why. I thought that was enough." "Evie," Dominic's voice is barely audible. "Don't." Rosalind's chin comes up. "I was fine. I handled it." Her jaw tightens. "But then at the celebration, you were so—" She stops again, looks at the wall. "I saw you and I saw myself. And I couldn't let it happen to you, I couldn't." She takes a slow breath. "I went to the wish granter," she says. "I asked him to protect us. From unwanted touch. He was very specific about that word. Unwanted. I thought that was enough of a boundary. I thought it would work the way I intended." "The price," Dominic says, "was the alpha status." Her voice goes hollow. "I knew there would be one. I didn't care. And then the curse was worse than I expected, and you thought it was your fault, and I—" She stops. Dominic crosses to her, stops just within arm's reach. "You let me believe it," he says. 15 years. I was supposed to protect you." The words come out like they've been under pressure for a very long time. "I was the alpha. Your older sister. I failed." "No." He steps closer, his voice dropping to almost nothing. "You survived." Rosalind looks at him. The elegant mask she's worn for 15 years cracks completely. and underneath it is a woman who has been very tired for a very long time. The curse can be broken, Kara says gently. If you don't need it anymore. If the thing you were protecting against. She pauses. If that fear isn't running the show anymore. Rosalind looks at her. There's someone I want you to meet, Kara says. My mum. She went through something. Not the same, but similar. And she's okay now. She's really okay. A beat. She gives very good hugs. Something in Rosalind's face shifts. She doesn't say yes, but she doesn't say no. 3 months later. Kara's mother's garden in September, the last of the good light coming sideways through the apple tree. Rosalind sits on the iron bench with her spine very straight, hands in her lap, and Kara's mum beside her talking in the low, easy way she has, the way she'd once talked to Kara and Lily on bad nights. Through the window, Kara watches. Dominic stands beside her. His hand finds hers without looking, the way it always does now. She okay? He asks. Watch. Her mum says something. She can't hear it through the glass. Rosalind's perfect posture holds, then gives. Her shoulders drop. Then she's crying, really crying, and Kara's mum pulls her in with the unhesitating certainty of a woman who has been on that bench herself. Yeah, Kara says. She's okay. They move inside when the light goes. Her mum makes tea. Rosa, retrieved from the sitter an hour ago, is already attempting to climb Dominic's leg in the kitchen doorway. Dominic is quiet for a moment. I owe you something, he says. Several things. The transfer, the month of silence. He turns. The email where I said regards. That one was unforgivable. I know. She looks up at him. In the 3 months since the elevator, she's watched him come back to himself incrementally, learning to enter a room without mapping every exit, letting people sit closer than arm's length, standing in the kitchen of her apartment in rolled-up sleeves eating takeaway at midnight, like a person who belongs somewhere. The curse still technically exists. Some of the pack still flinch from contact, still transform in moments of fear. They're working on it. These things take time. But Dominic hasn't transformed since the elevator. Rosa grabs his trouser leg with both hands. He looks down. She looks up. Up, she says, which is her current position on everything. He picks her up. She grabs his face and examines him with the authority of a 13-month-old who has decided someone is interesting. She really has no fear, he says. She gets it from her mother. Kara pauses. Her other mother. My sister. The grief is still there, always there, but softer now. Lily would have loved this. The improbable CEO standing in her mum's kitchen holding her baby, trying very hard not to look delighted about it. You should have seen him last week, Kara says conversationally to Rosa. He made up a song about your blocks. It had 3 verses. Dominic looks at the ceiling. It was in a minor key, Kara continues. It was very moving. It was not in a minor key. It was a little bit in a minor key. Rosa laughs. It's her new thing, the laugh. Sudden and enormous, totally committed, no reservation whatsoever. Dominic looks at her, startled, and then he's laughing too, and then Kara is, and the sound of it fills the small kitchen. Later they migrate to the sitting room, Rosa falling asleep between them on the couch, with the boneless certainty of a child who has decided this is where she lives now. Her mum has taken Rosalind to the far end of the room, 2 chairs pulled close, voices low. Dominic says her name, not Ms. Delaney, just Kara. She looks at him. I'm going to keep getting this wrong, he says. There will be more moments where I retreat because I don't know what else to do. I'm still learning to take up space in my own life. I know, she says. But I would like to keep trying, if you'll... She puts her hand on his face. He leans into it, eyes closing, the way he always does. Like it's water and he's been thirsty for a long time. I already said yes, she tells him. You were there. You said you'd accept my job offer because you couldn't afford to say no. Same thing. He opens his eyes. The real smile, the one she spent weeks trying to unlock. It's right there. It really isn't, he says. Ask me again then. So he does, and she says yes, and he pulls her in slowly, one hand at her waist, the other tucking a piece of hair behind her ear, with a carefulness that still gets her every time. This man who once couldn't be touched by another person, touching her like she's something worth being careful with. Outside, the apple tree drops one last leaf in the dark. Inside, Rosa sleeps on, unbothered, entirely unaware of how completely she has reorganized two people's lives by simply needing someone to feed her. Which is, when you think about it, the most powerful thing any of us can do. End. Thank you for listening.